Please excuse the formal attire, I was at a family event, but Andy Burnham's response to Labour accepting Tory MP Natalie Elphicke defecting to Labour?
You were the chosen one!
He's the Labour mayor for Greater Manchester and he's usually on point with most issues, but oh my god, this was a horrendous take. Here he is defending Labour accepting what is a third Tory MP joining the Labour Party.
Before you make that judgment, listen to why they've decided to do what they do. The thing about Westminster, Sheila, sometimes it can make people appear something that they're not, because you have to toe a line. You know, the party line is this, you have to go out into interviews like this and sort of defend it, and then you have to vote in certain ways because of the party whip.
No, MPs do not have to toe the party line. The worst the party can do is kick them out of the party. They would still have their jobs until the next election. And even if they did lose their jobs, you're not supposed to be in it for the paycheck, you're supposed to be in it to serve the public. And if you're thinking, oh, but you've got to be in the game to play it, first of all, Nigel Farage has never set foot in the UK Parliament, and yet the government has been dancing to the UKIP tune since 2015. Second of all, if every good politician stood on principle and the party kicked them out at the end of the parliamentary term, then we would know that the party leadership was not made of good people. Because so many politicians lower themselves to the shitty standards of the party line that the bar is so low. I mean, you've heard the phrase, all it takes for evil to succeed is for good people to do nothing. Well, this is worse than doing nothing. This is doing the evil things. But carry on.
It can actually turn you into something that you aren't yourself. You know, it can make a fraud actually out of good people. And
can you hear the cognitive dissonance in what you're saying? Because I shouldn't have to say this, but good people are not frauds. If they can be made into frauds by the simple offer of power and a Westminster payslip, then they weren't good people.
People can be suffering in those circumstances before they decide then to change sides.
Suffering? You're talking about Tory MPs suffering? What about the millions of people who suffered because of Tory policies? The tens of thousands of people who died because of how they handled COVID? The hundreds of thousands of people who died because of how they handled austerity? But the people earning 84 grand a year salaries, they were the ones suffering.
90% of politicians in Westminster are decent people trying to do a good job. And
the Tories had an 80-seat majority, and after Owen Paterson, the Tory MP, was found guilty of the worst case of bribery in the history of the UK Parliament, the majority of Tory MPs voted to change the rules to let him off. So most MPs are literally corrupt. Then there's the fact that the government documents showed that no matter what version of Brexit they negotiated, it would make people poorer, and almost every single medical body in the UK said Brexit would damage the NHS, costing thousands of lives. That was the best expertise that was available to our politicians, and they still went ahead with Brexit knowing it would ruin millions of lives. So no, 90% of MPs are not just doing their best.
They often get into difficulty because they're saying things they only half believe in.
I mean, you guys in Labour tried so hard after Partygate to try and set yourselves apart from Boris Johnson to make sure the public knew that all politicians were not all the same, but every time you invite a Tory politician to become a Labour politician, as if Tory values and Labour values are the same, you're not doing yourselves any favours.